of the events that we had seen take place. Again, lots of the police violence, a lot of the social disruption and disorder and decay that we deal with on a daily basis. Many of the issues surrounding things like HIV, things like, of course, the economic collapse, and more importantly, having us to begin to see hip hop in a more geopolitical context, because we are all over the world now. And in my argument, what I press is the fact that if we are all over the world and we are all on the same page and we can all kind of relate to the elements, the history, and we have a shared experience in that regard, then we are all citizens of this culture. And we need to find those people who are willing to participate in this culture to make it more of what its original intentions were meant to be. And so this book does that effectively. It is a cross-cultural analysis. It's real. I'm not talking about, a lot of the entertainment value, gossip, and bullshit that you may fucking get on a daily or anywhere else. Because again, Hip Hop Appreciation Week is a time where we focus on the cultural images, the cultural messages, the conscious efforts of self-mastery, health, love, awareness, and wealth, and how we can become better people so we could be a better service to our communities, to our families, and to anyone who may be interested in that kind of preservation. So again, that's just where this book starts. That's the jump off. But you're going to get a real education. It's available on Amazon right now. You can purchase it in an ebook and have a paperback copy of it. It took me a good while to really fashion this because, again, it's not for entertainment purposes. I'm not here to entertain, but I believe that for those of us who are like-minded and understand the value and the importance of preserving hip hop culture by preserving its people, right? By preserving its people, then you will find some degree of enjoyment. Because I believe that one of the goals that I try to also do is write this book for people like us. People who are the everyday people who live this culture, who go to the shows, who buy the merchandise, who attend the venues and the lectures, and just have really been the engine, if you will, behind the growth of a now global culture. And I feel that each of us can play a role. Everyone may not be able to do something great, but everyone can do something. Everyone can make a contribution. And so myself and PRiZM have gotten together. We've had some very, lengthy associations, definitely going back several decades. I've been embraced by Zulu, by Lord Yoda. May he rest in peace, passing away yesterday. And so it's just been so much more encouragement for us to network and work together. We have a great deal of resource. We have a great deal of expertise. And our goal is to see who on this call is ready to answer this call to order to join us. And so let's take a moment right there. And you want to do some introductions?
Yeah, peace. Thank you. That was a little summary for them to understand. And I put an image up for the book so they can see the name of the book, Peace in Time of War, available on Amazon. And it's also, like you said, available in the Kindle edition, so you can download that. And I'm also with us today. We have the brother of the other book that we spoke about off stage. There we go. Brother Jason Kirkman, aka King Phatz of the Soul Trust Records and the Zulu Union. And brother, thank you for taking the time to join us. And we just wanted to do a little recap and introduction with them to let them know about what we discussed so far and get a little feedback from them. So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the book and how they can get it.
All right. How's everybody doing? Peace and blessings or whatever. I'm Phatz. I'm a Zulu Union, Chapter 30, Order of the Solar Flare Natives, 757 Southeastern Virginia. You know what I mean? Peace and blessings. How's everybody doing? I'm an author. I'm an educator, scholar, hip hop primarily, but all aspects of music and culture. And I'm just here. My responsibility, I feel, in all of this is to make sure that we have the accurate history, to be able to teach the culture of hip hop properly, have all the information right and exact. As a matter of fact, I'm drawing up the B-boy timeline right now, drawing up all kinds of timelines, so that we can properly be able to teach people in the future, teach the babies how to teach them the knowledge, and then teach them the history. But as what brother Malik was saying earlier, we need to take care of the needs of the people in the community. So that's where my heart is right now. That's why my book is more or less kind of explaining the fact that hip hop didn't necessarily start as a genre of music. It started out as a communal order, a socio-political order, taking care of the needs of the community first. That's before '73. So '73 is like a celebration, and that's my crusade: is to let everybody know that hip hop first is for the community. Just like Malik is saying, we need to become a more global community looked at for not just entertaining the world, but literally saving and taking care of the world, and we becoming the new world order. That's it. Peace. That's it. That's my crusade.
Peace, peace. And again, the name of that book is right there, Off Stage, The Culture of Hip Hop Before the Elements, available at soultrustrecords.com, digital form. You can download it anytime. And I noticed we got another brother on the line, another educator. And another brother, actually, I want to get on a future call, especially when we have students like we have on the call today. Brother Reies Romero from Minnesota. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with your hip hop education format.
Well, peace, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Got you.
Good. I don't know, my speaker's been acting funny for a little bit on this computer. Reies Romero, Zulu King Reies from Omega Zulus here in Minnesota. It's an honor to be here with y'all. All through my 20s, I was basically just living off DJing. Going to Mexico, DJing a lot in Mexico, Arizona, Vegas. Used to work in various clubs here in Minnesota, and that was my income. I mean, that was it. That's what paid the rent. I mean, that was, it was. DJs make a lot more now than they did then. So this is, 97 to 2005, 6 area, 7 area even, where I didn't realize, being a lifelong hip hop head, I didn't realize actually that I could even teach this stuff. You know what I mean? It didn't occur to me in my 20s that I could actually become a hip hop educator. I really didn't want to. I was just kind of just living off DJing, and friends who did other extracurricular activities had dividends coming in, and we just made it work. You know what I mean? We didn't have jobs. It was, we just travel the country, travel the world, and then, and that was kind of my outlook on this culture, right? And I knew how powerful it was and how beautiful it was ever since I've been doing it since I started in 84, 85. But then, as I got more wisdom and I went to college, I started to understand, I can actually teach some of this stuff to kids, so I kind of like had that moment. I don't know if you ever seen the Blues Brothers, but when John Belushi was in the church and James Brown was, you see the light, see the light. And he was like, yes, I see the light. I had
brother. Yeah.
Right.
That's my movie, right? That's my movie.
We're on a mission from God.
That's right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
right, okay. So that's when I realized the mission from God. That I was like, you know what? Let me take this to another level and I still continued to DJ, but still, my kind of persona changed when I joined this organization called Save the Kids, and it was all about youth empowerment and ending youth incarceration, and that was the focus, right? So we did a lot of work on the inside of the jails, of the youth the youth detention centers, and working with incarcerated youth really opens your eyes and ears and heart up to a lot of stuff. And I started to develop some curriculum, right? We did drumming in there, we did poetry, we did nonviolent conflict resolution. We even got, different sets to sit down with each other and just talk, right? They were forced to be in there with each other, right? Like the guards would kind of put people um, of the same set or different sets with each other just on purpose, just to piss people off and just to say, oh, let's see what they do. So we got them to actually talk to each other where that wouldn't happen on the streets, you know, through this program that we did every Saturday. I did that for, you know, four or five good years, um, working with incarcerated youth. And that was, during college, and then I started to develop hip hop curriculum based off the five core elements, and um, it brought me here to what I am today, and it's really gratifying because it really I've taught hip hop to second grade through high school. So depending on the experience that uh, you have, it's a lot different story for the depending on what age you're talking about, right? And second grade, they're still almost imagining things, right? They're playing with dolls and they're imagining things, right? So but people that and there might not always be, their attention span's not there, it's hard for them to sit still, things like that. But I know Prism I talked about my hip hop analysis curriculum that I created, where very consciously picked songs that youth could evaluate and read in a circle, because that's when I really started my restorative practices journey as well. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling on, but hip hop education, I think, is more powerful than a lot of people think. And then, in this for all the people, I'm calling from America, right? A place called America, a place that someone else called this place. Um, Most of the teachers in our community are white, right? Identify as white. They might not see always the power in hip hop pedagogy and how it can actually teach the different sciences that the kids are learning, like math, science, reading, writing, even Fayed, even the art teacher that I work with, that she's white, but she understands, I can really get to these kids through hip hop, right? And how to teach them art through hip hop, even though she's not a graph artist, she's not any of these things that we come to know and love as the elements. But she would use them as a tool to have a connection with the youth, um, and that's the beauty of it, right? Even if a kid is not even into hip hop, the principles of hip hop are the underlying issue of how to reach anybody in the world, right? You might have a kid's like, man, I don't even like hip hop. I don't even like rap. Okay, that's okay though. You see what I'm saying? So because we have these the principles are the most important thing on how to connect their hearts together, connect trust and build trust. So
True, true. I agree. 100%. And yeah, we definitely want to set up a time where we can get more into some of the classes, like the hip hop analysis class, maybe even use some songs as examples. So definitely we're going to build more on that. So again, thank you for taking the time to join. Also, a few other people on the call, especially when we look at the international aspect. We have a few other educators on the call from the Philippines. I'd like to take a time to acknowledge and thank Coach Mycs Vioso, who's joined us on the line. I believe she has a few of her students on here. If you'd like, we'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your hip hop education work, and maybe a little bit about some of the students that you have on the line.
Hi everyone. So sorry. My name is Mycs. There you go. My name is Mycs. I'm from the Philippines, specifically in Manila. I'm a dancer. I'm a dance educator, and I'm born hip hop. But I'm not really I'm a guest in the culture. I'm not really there when it happened. And now I'm trying to learn together with my students now how hip hop is so powerful that we cannot really stay in the realms of dancing and in the realms of just knowing technique and all that. And we just really want to make sure that we've been learning hip hop in the ways that are really genuine and respectful and culturally sensitive. And that's why we are here to listen and learn from everyone here. So thank you again for yes, for always being welcoming to us and giving us time to really simmer the thoughts because you guys you have so much to say. We can it's too overwhelming, especially from the people in the Philippines that are not there when it happened and that are just practicing a bit on an area that we need to know all the elements and not just the elements but the essence and the value of what hip hop can offer to everyone, especially now that we are in the midst of crisis. And I feel that the youth is a very powerful movement. And I know that hip hop is also a very powerful movement. And in our country, we really just need something to hold on to. And I feel that the people here are holding on to hip hop. So there. Thank
Yes,
you.
I agree. I agree, and I appreciate that. In a lot of ways, we feel the same exact way. And you guys are family, so you're always welcome. We're going to keep doing events like this. And we want you not only to participate as spectators, but also as informants on your own culture. You know what I mean? So we want you to keep us informed on what's happening in your area and what you're dealing with. And not only maybe we can help, but maybe we can learn from things that you're doing in a certain way. So that's a major part of the reason why we're getting together on these calls of meetings so we can all share the knowledge with each other. So again, thank you for taking the time and bringing your family and your students with us. And also we have Brother Ray Domingo, who's another hip hop teacher, community leader, representative, activist sort of type of person in the Philippines who's been here for a while. And he's been studying, just like she said, learning to study the way so that way they can bring it to the next generation. So real quick, tell us a little bit about yourself, Ray, and how you're doing and what's going on with your hip hop work in your community.
Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Just wanna thank you, King, brother Reyes, and brother Phatz for this session. It really helps us to understand deeper what is really hip hop all about and how it moves and what's the purpose of it. And yeah, thank you. That's it.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, we might forget some of us that while it is actually about 8:30 East Coast time over here in the US, it's actually about 7:30, 8:30 a.m. over there in the Philippines. So they're taking the time to join us on Saturday morning. It's in the future. They're in the future right now. They're calling back from the future, joining us today. So thank you for taking the time. We appreciate your presence and your energy and your exuberance. I want to make a quick shout out video I saw a couple of days ago, maybe about a week ago now, from one of the groups that Coach Mycs works with. I think it was called Be My Guest. It was an awesome little show that they set up where they have 3 different dancers / choreographers every week. And or every week or every couple of weeks. I'm not sure the time frame. Don't quote me on that. But they introduce you to the dancers and their history, and then they each do a dance, and it's a similar dance, virtually the same, but they add their own flavor, and then you have to guess which one of them choreographed the show, and then they reveal it on their Instagram. It's a great idea, great concept. They're energetic, exuberant, youthful, enthusiastic kids. Like I was just gonna check it out. I'm gonna be honest. I was just gonna check out like 3 minutes of it real quick. Oh, let me see what they got over here. But I couldn't stop watching it. I was like, I had to watch. And then I saw Coach Mycs was on it. I was like, oh, no, I got to know. And I'll be honest, for you, I thought it was you for a second, Coach Mycs. But I was like, it's one of the girls. If it's not Coach Mycs, it's the other one. So I was half right. But it's a great idea. If you ever get a chance, check it out. I think it's LSDC Street, something like that on YouTube. If anything, we can share the link in the group yesterday or tag me in it, and I'll share it again. But it's a great idea, and it's a really good example of how we can start being innovative and creating our own YouTube shows. And it's like almost like some Nickelodeon quality TV type quality event that they're doing it, but the kids are hosting it themselves and interviewing people, through Zoom, things like this. So there's a lot that we can do. So great example, great work, Coach Mycs. Tell them we all send our love from the Zulu family over here. Awesome job. I love that. I'm going to use that as an example from now on. So thank you for that. And then of course we have a lot of other brothers, so and brothers and sisters on here. I do want to go around and I want to make it a little bit more of a conversation about the things that we've discussed and reviewed so far. But I want to take a quick moment to thank Brother Iron Fist Rivera for joining us today. This brother's, been doing so much work in the community on his journey and learning knowledge of not only community activism groups and organizations, but also how to build the structure and how to learn about funding. And he has a very different understanding on how to fund and how to raise funds for our groups and our community things. So thank you for taking the time. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself or your background or what you're working on now, feel free. How you doing?
I appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, I got a song that I've been thinking about. It's just for you and everybody
Okay.
here tonight.
Okay.
And it's a good way to introduce a project that I'm excited about. I happen to be blessed to have been called into. I make it kind of like a sneak peek, a special announcement just for you.
Okay.
But let's see if y'all know. Let's see if y'all know this song. Here we go. The ink is black. The page is white. Together we learn how to read and write. People are black, got people that's white. Let's stop racism and let's unite.
Wow. Like you just
All
dug
right.
into the recesses of my memory and I don't even remember where I
Yeah,
remember it
man.
from, bro.
Word. For
Like,
those of you who don't know, there was a Stop the Violence movement in hip hop, and one of the records was called Erase Racism. And I was just doing my best interpretation of a tenor voice, well known in the history of hip hop recordings, a guy by the name of Biz Marquis.
All right. Somebody
And
called it out in the chat room. All right.
Word. And I said that because if you don't know, right now in the United States, there's been a rising voice of concern about unnecessarily violent attacks against Asian peoples, in particular Asian elders.
True.
And since last year, there's been a growing voice of unity and solidarity between organizations that were the original Rainbow Coalition. The Black Panthers, the Young Lords, the Young Patriots. And in various cities, as this formation was coming into being, you also had groups like AIM, the American Indian Movement, the Brown Berets, Iroquois. And so I shared that with you because right now there's serious strategic planning going on across this nation, but in particular, I'm involved with the New York City work. And we're really going to be planning some amazing things to stop this hate and this ignorance and this violence towards our Asian brothers and sisters. We have a number of projects and plans already in the works, and just to push to work on that. So I want to share that with y'all. Obviously I'm coming from the path dealing directly with the Panthers and the Young Lords and all of that kind of stuff.
Tito, tell them who you are. Tell them who you are, man.
Right. True.
Well, I guess I always put the work first, right? I don't know what else there is for me to say. My name, people call me Fist. That's short for Grandmaster Iron Fist. I'm also known outside of the hip hop community as Tito Fist Rivera. I'm based in New York City. And I'm a young lord, I'm a Panther, I'm a Zulu, I'm a hip hopper. I'm all that and then some, just keeping it real. I'm always excited when new things bringing unity and we come out here on the attack to address serious issues. And so if you are somewhere where you could plug into your Rainbow Coalition in your neck of the woods, or if you're interested in getting involved or participating in some way to help this mobilization and organization towards addressing this ignorance and violence towards Asians, feel free to let PRiZM know that you're down to get involved. And I thank you for your time. Aho.
All right. Peace, brother. Appreciate that.
Hey,
Definitely
let me
worth talking to know.
Hey, can I ask somebody to chime in?
Please.
So we have a strong effort here, everybody. I think everybody is already able to see that. You see how strong this effort is, and everybody is coming with. We all have quality contribution. And in our outreach, I met someone, okay? And he's on the call tonight. Why don't you introduce yourself, my man?
Mickey Blunt, aka Devious One from Toronto, Canada.
Peace. Peace. What's good, brother?
And thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. What you do? Where you coming from?
I've been an MC for about 10 years. Prior to being an MC, I was a DJ, 2 turntables and a mixer. I'm now trying to take on production. I just bought an MPC Live 2. So I'm gonna get my hands dirty with some finger banging, pow pow. But other than that, man, it's just hip hop from day one, man. Ever since I got that Big Daddy Kane Taste of Chocolate in my hands back in '91, I've been a fan ever since. And outside of music, I try to do the political activist thing. I'm trying to do like an online presence, got like a Facebook group, trying to build up that. Almost got it up to about 500 people now. And basically just, you know, picking my battles and choosing to just educate people and shine light on situations, and that reflects in my music as well. So yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. That's peace. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. You know, it's funny, Reies, I meant to mention this to you the other day too. You had talked about doing a personal hip hop timeline, right? And like 2 days before you said that, I had 2 interviews actually. And for the first time they asked me, you know, when did you get involved with hip hop? Like, how old were you when you got involved in hip hop? And I've never really been asked that question directly before. And it made me realize, like, I was born in the late 70s in the Bronx, and I had 10 aunts on my father's side, right? 10 female aunts, right? He had 10 sisters, and I had 7 brothers on my mother's side, right? They grew up on Washington Avenue in the Bronx in the 60s and 70s. So, you know, in themselves, in their own little family, they were a gang, like each of them, you know what I mean? And they lived across the street from each other in opposite buildings on Washington Ave. And between all my aunts and uncles, somebody always had the latest hip hop, the latest music and whatnot, you know what I mean? So I grew up around it all the time. Like, you know, 79, Sugar Hill Gang came out, but before that, they had the tapes, they had the videos, they had the 8mm films with projectors that they would show me on the walls of the parties and the things that they went to. So I started realizing it was always there, you know what I mean? Like, I remember when Basketball, the video played on TV for the first time, you know what I mean? I remember Christmas rapping when it first came out, you know what I mean? So
Basketball's in my timeline.
Right. You know what I mean? So I was part of that generation where it was a major thing. A hip hop video was playing on TV live for the first time ever. I believe that was Basketball, right? It was the one.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the first ones. Yeah.
Right. If it wasn't
you're
Basketball,
right. You're right.
Right.
No, you.
Right.
Yep. You're right.
So for me, it was part of my life. You know, I remember I stole my mother's record. Right. Some of us remember my first Fisher Price record player. Right. I went through my mother's records and I saw this thing called Super Rhyme. And Superman is my #1 favorite hero, like ever. You know what I mean? So I was like, Super Rhyme, who's this? This is like the Superman of rap. Let me listen. Yeah. So I took the record and I put it on my first Fisher Price record player and it played the record. And I was like, oh, this is dope. I'm keeping it. I'm not giving it back. And it was like the 8-minute version or the 12-minute version of the song. So, you know, it was always part of my childhood growing up. And it was conscious rap, you know, like when I heard the message, right? And then later, Ladies First, actually, I found Video Music Box by accident, you know, because back in New York, and depending on where you lived, there was the fuzzy channel. In between, we had the knob. You had to turn the dial to get, you know, to make the TV screen clear and whatnot. So I was just flicking through the channels one day, and I started hearing
antenna in the back.
Yeah, and I started hearing rapping under the static, and I'm like, is that rap music on the TV? Yeah. So I started messing with the knob, and I stumbled across Video Music Box, and the first video I saw playing was Ladies First. And I was like, oh, this is fire. This is hot. is conscious, is strong, it's kind of women I want to be around. And I'm a young kid, but you know what I mean? Like it was inspirational to me. And then Criminal Minded and songs like that. So conscious hip hop is what really drew my attention to hip hop. You know what I mean? Like I grew up with all kinds of music. I grew up with Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and the Beatles and the Blues Brothers and, you know, classical music. I played 6 instruments growing up, you know what I mean? So I played in orchestras and jazz bands and I listened to all that, jazz, funk. But when I heard conscious hip hop, when I heard these brothers like KRS-One and Public Enemy spitting knowledge and dropping knowledge, I was like, ooh, I talk about this stuff all the time, but you can rap about it too? And the way they was doing it was so original and so unique and so different than everybody else that now my brother, Asa, who I'm not sure if he's on the call with us tonight, he grew up in Bronx River Project. So he was telling me about Zulu for years. Like, brother, you got to come over here. I'm like, why? I don't even live over there. I don't need them. And then me and my crew in Yonkers at the time, we called ourselves the Peacekeepers. And we started settling disputes in our neighborhood with sports. So we would challenge them to football games, you know, and most time it was tackle, no equipment, but it was like, all right, we're going to settle this on the football field, you know? Yeah. And so we started that. So he was like, it's the same thing that you're doing, but with hip hop. They do it with B-boys and MCs and DJs. So when I started to hear more of this conscious hip hop, I was like, all right, what's this Zulu thing you were telling me about? And this is probably late 80s, early 90s. And so I went to a meeting, right? And it was a universal meeting at Bronx River Center. This is probably about 91. The first official universal that I went to. I went to a bunch of other little meetings here and there, but this is the first official universal I went to.
Yeah.
So I go, and let me paint the picture for you guys. Like, it's probably some of you guys have seen a community center, right? Like, probably legally, you probably shouldn't fit more than 800 people in there type of place, you know what I mean? But I'm standing outside this little 1-story community center, and it's like 3,000 people standing outside. And I'm like, what's going on here? And he was like, this is for the Universal. This is chapters from all over the world that they come around and whatnot. So I'm like, all right, it's a whole hour-and-a-half process probably to get in. You got to get frisked, patted down and everything, and you got to go in. And then you get in, and there's standing room only. And when I say standing room only, I mean like this much standing room only. You know what I mean? Like, so you shoulder to shoulder with people. I don't know if there's AC or not, but it's like June, and it's not that cool in here. And there's a panel of brothers sitting up on the front, and behind them, they got a big map of the world, right? And a lot of speakers spoke that day, but the speaker that spoke out to me, I felt like that was a tongue twister. A lot of speakers spoke that day, but the speaker that spoke out, I'm gonna practice that. The speaker that stood out to me, rather, he was talking about etymology of the world, right? He was talking about how all these words are in common from all these different places in the world. And then he started talking about the way we dress is similar from our native cultures, our indigenous cultures around the world. And then he started talking about how we made guitars and how we made drums was similar all around the world. And then the structures and the way we built it and traditions and how it had to come from an origin. It had to come from an original place where we were all one people. It all came from a common ground. So we're all one people. And it stood out to me. And it amazed me because I'm like, this is how I've been trying to unite groups in my little neighborhood. And so I'm like, who started this? And he told me Africa Bambaataa and those guys there, Righteous and Yoda and Lucky. I'm like, all right, we need to talk to them. This is how I got involved with Zulu Nation. I started studying under the pioneers that started the culture. And when I say I started studying with them, I mean like I traveled with them. Before I joined the chapter, I went to events. You know, I watched how they worked. I listened to how they taught. They started training me for security at 12, 13, 14 years old. So I would stand guard and listen to their conversations and their arguments and their disputes and how they organized the show and an event and how they planned it. And when it turned out great, what happened, what worked, what didn't work. I was just watching and learning and adopting all of it and building it. You know, so by the time I was 15, we were offered a chapter. And this is a secret I'm gonna let most of you know. I started at 15, like most of the pioneers did. They didn't know I was 15 at the time. They thought I was 16 at the time, and I just let them believe it. So that way we can go ahead and start doing our own thing. But I made sure I got tested for what, you know, in the nation they call it kingship, right? So at the time, kingship was a process where you had to study all of the infinity lessons. And at the time, there were 7 infinity lessons, plus there was like several key infinity lessons and the laws and the regulations and the beliefs and hip hop history. So you have to study all that and be able to answer any of those questions at the drop of a dime. And you have to be able to, you know, get tested at random and be able to answer those questions and that information. So before I accepted the offer of the chapter, I went and studied all the lessons as much as I could, manifested them, memorized them. And at the time, the Supreme Council was like 7 people that were rarely ever in the same room together. So I had to go call them and find them individually and have each one of them test me separately, because I wasn't waiting a year or 2 years for them to finally get together to test me. So I made all of them test me independently. TC Islam, Ahmed, Shabazz, Bam, Yoda, Lucky, Righteous, and there was a few other. I feel like I'm forgetting people. I wish Asa was here. He could remember. Valentine, Bishop, Reies, some of the prominent leaders at the time. And they all called each other and co-signed and said, this brother knows his stuff. Bless him with his kingship. I got my package, my black top, my t-shirt, my lessons. At the time, they opened a branch of Zulu Nation called the Black Spades. And that was only 4 or 5 select chapters of the Zulu Nation that became Black Spades chapters. We were one of the chapters selected. However, we were the only chapter that was like, okay, we're going to have some Black Spades members, but we also going to have some Zulu members and some chosen members that are separate. And they was like, no, all the other chapters that came to Black Spades are only Black Spades. I'm like, all right, but we are chapter 33 and we're going to stay chapter 33. And we're going to have some brothers that elevate to the level of Black Spades knowledge when they master the information, but the rest of them are going to be chosen Zulu or just chosen. We was the only chapter that was able to get away with that. And it's part of the only reason why, we've still been able to survive all this time independently, because we knew the knowledge, we knew the information, we built our reputation on knowing the information and the culture and the history. So a lot of the hip hop information, to sum it up, a lot of the hip hop information that we've been sharing with you guys over the past few weeks has not been something that we took the blueprint from a group that came before us and said, okay, let's keep on doing it the way they did it. This is something that we learned by listening to their conversations and hearing them speak at length on these different topics, including community activism and revolutionary tendencies and how to make changes in policies in the government. So we put it into categories of knowledge, and then we organize it into a way where we start to introduce you to hip hop knowledge and knowledge of self with the way that we teach it. And we call it the fundamentals of hip hop. And it's a term that people have used before over the years and decades previously, but we put it together in a way where it's the fundamentals of hip hop. Like I said, in one of the previous meetings, when you go to learn mathematics in class, they teach you addition, then subtraction, then multiplication, and then division. You know what I mean? It's the same way we had to categorize hip hop. So that way you can start to understand what it really is. So like referring back to what Coach Mycs said, some of these communities are communities in their own. Like the B-boy community is a community of its own around the world. It's global. They have their own issues that they deal with, their own, battles that they face in their communities, doing events, getting the judges to judge correctly, getting recognized for their talent, so on and so forth, and they may not always realize that they're part of this bigger community. Like DJs go through their own battles. Beatboxing is a community, it's a growing community, where they have battles and competitions all over the world and trophies, and all of that. And these are the ways that, you see behind me is the hip hop logo of Chosen that we're presenting this year, because we wanted to represent all of the elements of the culture and the music, So for example, we teach the main elements of DJing, MCing, B-boy and B-girl, which you see on my left and my right, and then graffiti and beatboxing as the 5th element of hip hop music. Because again, even, not just in the beginning times, but even now, when you can't afford a turntable or you don't have a record player, you don't have music, you can still beatbox and practice, write your rhymes. You can still beatbox and practice your floor moves or your backspin. You can still beatbox and practice in your head the cuts that you're going to do when you get home on the turntable. You know what I mean? So for me, it's one of those things that was part of the elements of the music from the beginning and now that we practice when we didn't have turntables, when we didn't have samplers, when we didn't have computers. And even now, some of us are not professional beatboxers, but we still catch ourselves beatboxing every now and then when we're walking and when we're listening or to a song or we're thinking about our song in our head and whatnot, and Bobby McFerrin is a great example of that. You know what I mean? I actually had a video pulled up the other day, but I'm not gonna, Bobby McFerrin is one of those guys you could look up where he makes body with all of his music and his mouth and his, teeth and his tongue and his lips and it wasn't called beatboxing, but it's beatboxing. You know what I mean? And this is why it's part of those things that we feel is important. And then the knowledge of this is the first element of hip hop culture. That's how it started to spread when people learned about it. Yes,
I
bro.
think you just wrote about half of your personal hip hop timeline you just shared with us.
Right. You know what I mean? But that's why
like
when you said it, I realized that I'm like, wow, like it grows right into my story. Like even
yeah.
the classical music I played, I made it with hip hop, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I'm doing mine in a
Right.
PowerPoint
All
form,
right.
right? So I can include pictures and visuals and audio and insert things and kind of make it like a presentation. Because if I ever teach that, well, it's an idea that I actually am borrowing from Queen Heroin, who's is a hip hop teacher, and
Okay.
she's having her students make their own hip hop timeline, right?
Right.
And I was like, man, I'm gonna do mine, but you know, and she grades these. She grades their presentation. They have to present it in front of their class.
Right.
Right now on Zoom, but still. But switching the subject to b-boy
Yes.
and b-girling,
Go ahead.
the phenomena. There's a certain move, and there's theories on why it actually came about. There's a certain move where when you're top rocking and you're up rocking, you can actually do it on floor moves too. But
Mm-hmm.
when you go like this,
Mm-hmm.
see this move right here, you know
Mm-hmm.
how you're and then you go like this, and you
Right.
grab your head for an instant, like this. You understand? It's a
Yeah.
phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's a move, right? I've always wondered, like, where the fuck does that come from? Excuse my language, but where?
Mm.
Why are they doing this, right? And I think there's other theories where um when they were breaking, they didn't want their skull cap to fall off, and they would pull it down to
Mhm.
keep it on. That's one theory that I've heard from like.
It could
Hey,
be.
let me share. Let me
Yeah,
share.
Sir Malik, one. Maybe you can
Let
speak
me
on it.
share one with you. Let me
You
say,
understand this when you like this,
and
they go like this.
exactly. I love this
Like,
conversation.
I'm trying to figure out like how that phenomenon started.
Well,
And
like, go ahead.
go ahead.
So when you examine things like history or a historical or event, right? Something that was unparalleled that may have started trends and fads, et cetera, right? We always have to always remember this. Several factors influence that. There was never just one, right? There's never really just one. There's always different attributes or different circumstances that can produce a similar effect, and thus if they grow together, that effect becomes even bigger. But so let me give you mine. So from a b-boy, I used to, I grew up as a b-boy in Chicago, Philadelphia, and then eventually New York. And for us, b-boying, it was a salute because you had to do like you was doing like your swipes or something. It was, you was pulling into a freeze move, right?
Yeah.
And we started doing it because we saluted our crew. We were saluting our crew. So, we do our little freeze and it was a salute.
Yeah.
That is definitely,
okay.
that's one that we used.
Right.
And we often saw others use that than otherwise. But I'm sure there's different reasons.
There's different
for
us and
the
coming
one
up
that-
in New
I
York.
got one too.
It was
With
it
the
was
one that
it
I'm
was a
thinking
story
of-
that you can't see us. You can't see us. After we just did what we did, it was like, nigga, you can't see me. Like,
The one
we're
that I'm
out there
thinking
somewhere,
of, Sir Malik, one, because you bring up a good point, because when you salute, your thumb is tucked into your index finger.
Right.
This one is
Right.
your thumb is extended like this, and it comes up to your head. And I think a lot of b-boys, b-girls do it unconsciously because they're just seeing like
Right.
other
Well,
people.
many of us had
Right.
glasses. Many of us used to wear goggles.
Goggles,
And in our
that was the other
goggles,
theory.
it kept
The
my
goggle
goggles
theory.
on. It
Yep.
kept my goggles on. I know a lot
Kept
of
it
people did
on.
that.
Yep.
But again, there are several factors, and
Yeah.
to me, it is so diverse, and it's such a good way to explore, the attributes of our culture in this fashion, and being able to define them in these ways, and not necessarily like we have these conversations all the time, PRiZM and myself, about the histories, and but they are integrated histories now. See, they are integrated histories now. And this has really been one of the greatest troubles of all nations in all civilizations, the inability to do what hip hop is doing right now. all of us on this phone call, look how diverse we are ethnically. Look how diverse we are culturally. But look at the bond we have. It's great that we have the differences, but the things that make us similar, the things that bring us together are the things that we will always be able to do more in. We will be able to produce more value in when we do it together, united. And when we discover these little, these little attributes, these things that have happened that have become phenomenon and what have you, just listening to the stories, because I'm glad you got off of the box, because I got a bad story about that. So you remember when the box, you remember how the box got so big they started doing basketball tournaments at Rucker and shit? I played on one of them first, the third year. I played. And let me tell you something. My wife threw away my jersey about 3-4 years ago. Not knowing. I was like, what the hell? So
Phatz, you had a theory.
Look, the boxes are a touchy subject.
Phatz, you was gonna say something?
Well, now, historically, they are called burns, from Top Rock.
Yeah, burns. Yep.
Yeah, Top Rock and Up Rock, and I know like California. I saw them battling some cats from China, and I don't know the B-boy, but he would do that. But then his thing from this was like, kind of like fanning them off. When you think he was saluting you, he was actually fanning you off. You know what I mean? So I've seen it used a lot of ways, but yeah.
Right. I wish we had Pluto. Pluto probably got some stories for that one too.
Pluto's definitely the source, man.
Yeah, Pluto. We were blessed to have him on the first call. It's been difficult to get on the call, but for those of us that were on the first call, we know he got a lot of knowledge. Like, he started breaking down the first 5-10 years of B-boy history. Yeah, and he shared a lot just in that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So shout out to Pluto for years.
Yeah, when I finish my timeline, I'm sending it to him for you know what I'm saying? Yeah, straight up. Yep.
And Coach Mycs, I know you do some choreography and stuff too. When you do your choreography, is there meaning behind the moves and the gestures that you do, or is it more just movement? Coach Mycs, you're on mute. All right, so I asked Ray Domingo. Ray, there you go. You with us?
Again. One more. Let me understand that.
Yeah, so I said, so you do choreography when you're doing, outlining dance moves. Is there meaning behind the moves and gestures that you do, or is it more just gestures that lead into another gesture?
So in hip hop dance, not necessarily break dance, but though in breaking, we in hip hop dance we have a lot of influence from breaking. The thing that we do in studying hip hop dance is we try to fix and pinpoint the history where a lot of party dances originated, and with that we are trying to see similarities with our dances here as well. But I don't feel that there should be a connection, but there are parallelisms, because the thing with the playing and exploration is very big in discovering dance steps also. So that's what we're doing, as far as I know, as far as we are concerned here.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense. For me, I dabbled, with certain groups that did backup dancing and choreography through our groups. So for, a lot of them, when they did their moves, it was a mix of B-boys and, up rock dancers. And it was like, referring to what Phatz said, a lot of their moves where they had meanings and a story behind it, but a lot of it was burns related, you know what I mean? So where it was like, after they did some ill thing, then they did something like, whether it was, play with their, flick you off or whatever.
Hey, let me say this though. This is also an interesting point to think about. So back when I started b-boying in the 70s, right? When it really started grabbing hold, I mean, it was, you talk about phenomenon, being a b-boy back in the day, because everybody hated us and then everybody loved us. It was wild, right? So in the early days, I always remember b-boys took the front lines on the streets. So instead of us being violent with the cats in the next neighborhood or in the next town or whatever, right, on the next block, it was about show me your skills. And so the move about the salute was indeed a way, because I can tell you certainly there were several crews. Oh man, Crazy Legs got stories like this up and down. Crazy's got stories like this up and down. There was always somebody that he knew that he was cool with that was with another crew, right? But when they was crew, you know how it is, you crew. But on the floor, there was that effort to instill peace. There was that effort to build peace. And so granted, it's grown to where it is now, where we can't burn it. It is all, because that's always been a part of it. But again, the peace part of it, because after we won or after they won, we all embraced. Because we was all sweating, all drenched, all gave it our all, and we knew he was coming back tomorrow, and you motherfuckers better be ready, because I will take you down to the end. So again, that effort about peace, I just think that's very important to reflect on, because it can relate in so many different ways to other cultures. And now that we have different styles that were, built off of or inspired and motivated by b-boying.
Definitely. And with that statement real quick, I want to remind everybody, we were having a discussion privately with the union the other day, but reminder to everybody that Hip Hop Appreciation Week is the 3rd week of May. We advise everybody to put something together, especially you guys, overseas, put something together for your community or your groups to celebrate Hip Hop Appreciation Week, whether it's a series of events or, articles or learning videos or whatever it is. We're trying to find ways to make Hip Hop Appreciation Week relevant to the next generation. So it's not just something that we say, oh yeah, it's Hip Hop Appreciation Week again. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And they go on with their life, but that they look forward to. We're like, oh, it's Hip Hop Appreciation Week. Okay, cool. That means there's going to be some showcase, some talent court, some b-boy contests, some DJs, some videos, some, international connections, something, So we want to start to make this, we're the generation as elders that are responsible for making it mean something, for making it something to look forward to. So that's what we're trying to do. That's May 16th, the week of May 16th, 17th, 18th to the 22nd, I believe it is. It's up to us as the leaders to try to do something for our youth, for the next generation, to make it important to them, so that way they carry it on as a tradition and something, like I said, whether it's open mics in your MC community or b-boy contests in your b-boy community, or learning from different b-boys, find different videos, like Coach Mycs said too, a lot of people do like she does, where you look at other cultures' dances and look at the similarities and how you could, it's similar or parallels your community. Let's do things like that, and make it fun for the youth, not just educational, but fun. So that way it's something they look forward to celebrate.
And let me add on to that. And that's such a great point, because this week is about our personal relationship with one another as well. It's also about our personal relationship with ourselves, taking time to, cut out the sugars, the flours, things that are heavily saturated in fats, and try to just, start small, maybe not have your cake 2 or 3 days out of the week. Start small, baby steps, to be more mindful about yourself, because if you aren't in the best shape or in the best condition, right, physically, mentally, and spiritually, right? How much of a real participation are you going to have? Because ultimately, we like to inspire each of us to try to get the most out of this experience, right? And so this week is really about paying attention, reconnecting, reestablishing, and restoring your relationship with the conscious messages that this culture has built over the years, right? The efforts that were meant to help us to be better people, right? Help you to self-improve, help you to overcome whatever situation that you may be dealing with, but also how kind we can be. Where's our love? Where is the love? Can we show love to one another in the face of all this war? Because we are at war. We are at war, and our efforts are important to our children and our children's children, but that starts with us. And so one thing that you can do, this is not a shameless plug, but check my work out, check out my work, because that helps us to be on the same page. That's where we can begin, because just like anything that we do in life, right? We want to be able to do it to the best of our abilities. And one of the ways that we can do that is, again, by orienting ourselves to these fundamentals, to these principles, but how they work. More importantly, how do they work? How do I get the most out of it? What can I do to better my lot, my situation? And that's where we are for each and every one of you. And we want to continue to work with you personally, each of you. We want to come to you, help you do what you are doing to the best of your ability, by all of us being able to coagulate our resources, right? Pull our resources together and be able to act and behave as the kind of leadership we know we have been providing, each and every one of us. So I just want to congratulate everybody, but also encourage you, join us in the campaign. And that's what the book is about, Peace in Time of War. It's about participating and joining into the campaign, and how you can actually do that, and the kind of information that you'll be exposed to help you to develop on your own, not just doing what we are doing, but primarily to help you to be a better you. All right.
True. And I'll say this in summary. It's like this, we keep saying hip hop is an international culture and a nation. And this is, again, not me trying to promote the book, because I get anything out of it, but he's words it a very good way in the book where he says hip hop citizens. And it's sort of an outline for us as hip hop citizens of this international culture and organization, both the Declaration of Peace and the book. And these are the things that we try to build on, so that we realize that it's not just, like the sister said before, just something that you do as a B-boy, but a part of an international culture that you're part of. And I know for most of us, hip hop has been that thing that when life is hard and life has been stressful and life has been frustrating, hip hop made us feel better. Whether that was emceeing or producing or DJing or B-boying, hip hop was that thing that we knew we can go to and feel better, and practice that and put ourselves into that. Maybe home life was not great. Maybe school life was not great. Maybe work was not great, but we could throw on some beats and we feel better and we connect to that.
PRiZM, I before I get off, I got to run, but I could do, maybe 2 or 3 songs of my hip hop analysis curriculum. It'd probably take maybe about 15, 20 minutes, but
yeah,
how it works
baby.
What I do, but
baby,
we do it in a circle. But and for the B-boys and B-girls on the call, one of the best books that I've read in the last few years was this book called The Art of Battle by Alien Ness.
Brother.
I mean, he signed a copy for me and sent it to me. It's every tip that you can freaking imagine on judge battles. Right, it's specifically towards judge battles.
And what was the name of it again?
The Art of Battle.
Right. See,
by
I forgot
Alien
about that. Thank you.
Yep, it's a great book, man. And it blew me away. I really did. It's like Phatz book blew me away. Another book that I'm really interested in reading is Wise Intelligence new book. It's titled Three Fifths of an MC. The manufacturing of a dumbed down rap.
Yeah,
hey, let me.
I don't know if anyone has read it on this call.
Yes, I actually.
Title alone.
Hold on.
Intriguing.
Hold on. Let me show you how much. Now, this is what I mean. This is part of what my contribution is about. I like you all to consider me the a resident scholar of this group, someone you can always refer to. So here's the book. And you'll like this. You'll like this. Can you see it?
All right.
So I got an autographed copy. And we actually are inviting Wise to speak with us about this work. And it is a pivotal work. It is a pivotal work.
Yeah.
And I am looking forward to our group being able to inspire, further efforts, whether it be in publication or, in any other capacity with these kind of groups. So good selection of book and a damn good read. I think I read it in the first 2 days that I bought it.
I'm guessing the 3/5 is a shot at the Constitution.
Absolutely,
Right?
it is.
Right?
It is,
no question.
and let's be clear though. But let's be clear though. So as a in about a year here, I'll have my Juris Doctorate, and one of my focuses is constitutional law. So be mindful. We want to be accurate, and so the 3/5 whole, implausibility, obviously, right? Because we know they ended up doing it any motherfucking way. But the point is, that was a part of the Articles of Confederation, right? Which did not become adopted into the Constitution, largely for this reason. But again, we know they still instituted, and this is really where the vein of white supremacy really began to take root, right? So yeah, definitely a shout out to that. And damn good read. Please get this one. That's definitely one you need to get. Yeah, get this joint.
Right.
It's
Yeah, we were
free
talking
if
about
you
it the
have
other
the
day.
Kindle app.
Say that again.
If you have, it's read with our free app on Kindle. I'm
You
just
can read
looking
it for
at it
free
right
on
now.
Kindle. Okay.
Or $9.99
No, it's
on
saying
Kindle. So.
no. Yeah, the app is free, not the book.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
It's
I'm gonna get that
$9.99
joint.
It's definitely
He
on the
said,
list.
brother, my bad. I got
Got
hyped
me
for a
gas
second.
for a minute. I was like, what? I'm about to go download it now.
I'm about to get that joint.
No, but I'm definitely gonna get it regardless. I mean, it could be $24.99. I would get it. So,
Yeah,
again,
I'm gonna
this
cop that
seems
joint.
to be a common theme here, where we're looking at the books that are coming out from our era, our generation. Now, it's an important thing. Shout out. I'm frustrated. I'm mad at myself. I didn't get to shout the brother out when he was on the call earlier. Our brother Emil, Emil YX, for those know internationally. He was on the call earlier, and I know it's a different time over there, so I don't even know what time it is over there. But he has a book come out called Reconnect the String. That's basically, connecting our whole concept of education from our own cultural perspective, and not the European cultural perspectives that we've sort of been, forced to swallow over the past few centuries. So he can tell us a lot more about that. Hopefully, when he has time, we'll definitely connect with him and do a session with him on that book. Also connected with brother DJ Stage One recently, and he reminded me that he has a book. So we're probably going to be talking about that soon. But this is information that, is not so much about buy my book. It's about the information that's contained in the book. And the same, I'll give you the same example I used when I spoke about Brother Phatz's book. Brother Phatz's book, if you were really thorough and you had all the time on your hands to do nothing else, you could search and find 100 or 200 YouTube videos online, and it'll tell you a lot of what he saw in his book. But you'll never get it in one consistent place the way you got it in his book that you can download online and read in a couple of days. And with that book, it's again about the pre-culture, about how it was. So some of you, in the Philippines have mentioned before that it's a little bit different in your culture and the circumstances, but I want you to know your circumstances are very similar to how it was at the beginning of hip hop in the 5 boroughs, where we didn't have anything. We didn't have school programs. We didn't have parks. We didn't have breakfast programs. We didn't have, our kids weren't getting educated or maintained. There was all kinds of drugs and disease. And hip hop was, like I said before, that thing that gave us hope in the middle of all that despair. That thing that we did on our own in the park, where we plugged in to the street lamps so that way we can create a little happy place for us in the middle of all that despair and nothingness and frustration. You know what I mean? So we can do this from anywhere. So no matter how dire your circumstances are there, you can look in places like, again, which is why I wish we went to him earlier, Brother Emil in South Africa, where they have a lot worse situations than some of us on this call do. And they're still using hip hop as that vehicle to connect their youth, to keep their youth hopeful and enthusiastic and joyful. And so for me, it's one of those things where I don't want them to just know about hip hop as the thing where there's b-boys and rappers and DJs, but as the culture that they're a part of, that they're born into, So real quick, I want to take the opportunity, since we have a few people on here, ladies especially, any questions, any comments, or, if you feel like hip hop has brought you out of a hardship or out of a dark place or out of a frustration, show me in the comments or show me with the little hearts or hand symbols or whatnot that you can understand that, and that's why you're here. You know what I mean? But for me, I want to hear from you guys. I want to know, what questions do you have? What are the things that you want help with in your community? How can we help you to bring it into your life or to do something within your life, or maybe you can develop it into a career or a future? If you're too scared to speak on camera, that's okay, but you can put your questions in the chat room. We're doing this not just to hear ourselves speak, but to share to you the information that's not only necessary, but what you feel is relevant to you, what you would like to know about. Coaches, teachers, if you know things or questions your students might have, feel free to speak on their behalf. Or if you have any questions you know they might ask, feel free to ask us. Let us know. This week is more of an open forum where we can review some of the information that we've gone through in the past weeks. But I don't want to recap too much for, people that were here for a lot of the calls. But we want to hear from you guys. We want to know how you feel. Do you like what you're hearing? Do you have a different opinion? Is there something you want to know more about? Maybe we can do more specifics on B-boy talks or B-boy history. If you like that, let us know. Anybody? Any questions, comments? Okay. So I will call on a couple of people real quick. DJ Lowtech, I noticed you had recognized the Biz Markie reference earlier when Tito had came on the line. Are you a DJ? What is your DJ experience? What do you feel about what you've heard so far? Feel free to share.
Yeah, peace. Yeah, I'm a DJ. I've been DJing since, 95-ish. And yeah, I've actually got that record in one of my mixes from a long, long time ago. I just couldn't remember who it was by, but I was pretty sure it was Biz Markie.
Right.
Yeah, it's been good. I enjoy sitting in on these conversations. So as I've mentioned before, I run a business called Knowledge Tree Hip Hop, where we go into schools and community groups and whatever and teach the 4 artistic elements to kids to try and help engage, like especially disengaged or troubled kids or whatever. So yeah, it's always a good listening on these things and getting other people's perspectives and how they approach the topic and how hip hop's used in a therapeutic sense. So yeah, DJing is sort of how I got into hip hop in the first place. Other than, again, like someone mentioned earlier, I had some uncles who were like in their teens in the late 80s. So I was just kind of stealing all their tapes and whatever. And that was kind of my first entry into it.
Right.
But yeah, sort of went to that to DJing, and now it's kind of, led on to the teaching kind of thing. So yeah, over, I guess, probably
That's awesome.
25-year kind of span, I suppose.
No, yeah, I mean, I just want you to know I'm a follower of what you guys do. I love what you do. I believe it was your video where I actually saw you have a classroom set up with turntables and stuff for the kids, right? Where you can teach them how to DJ and hip hop and all that. Yeah,
on our promotional video. That's that was actually done at my local high school, where I actually went to high school myself about 12 years ago. So yeah, that was kind of cool to go back, and funnily enough, it was sort of working with a lot of the same teachers that were teachers when I was there as a student, and then I've kind of come back as a I guess alongside them as a peer, as opposed to a student, which was kind of cool, and then help them engage their students. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting way of seeing things go full circle, I guess.
Yes, definitely. No, I love that, and I saw the setup, and I'll be honest, I loved it, and I was happy to see it. And at the same time, I was a little bit jealous. I was like, damn it, why can't we have a classroom like that for the kids in our neighborhood? So these are part of the things that we're definitely working on. So big up to you for doing that. How is it going with the COVID and everything? How are you still, faring with the kids and the programs and all that?
Yeah, we've actually got our first event coming up again for this year on the 18th of April. That's with my mate Subs. He lives out in Murray Bridge, which is kind of on the other side of Adelaide, I guess maybe an hour from where I'm at. And yeah, we're going to run another 4 Elements workshop at a gallery over in Murray Bridge over his way. So yeah, it's a bit different. Like I said, normally we tend to go into schools and that kind of thing, but yeah, we'll basically go and can go and teach for anyone, anywhere really. We're all kind of set up. We've got all our own gear. We've got our own turntables. We've got transport. So pretty much, wherever the need for hip hop calls, we can be there.
Yeah, man, I love that. I would definitely love to maybe talk with you on the side. Maybe we could set up a day or a segment where we highlight some of the work that you're doing, and we can share that with some people, because that's great work. I love it. Like I said, when I saw it, I was instantly a fan. Like, I know you are on the Chosen Zulu Facebook and you share some of our stuff, but I look at who's connecting with us, and like I said, I was a little bit envious. I was like, that is awesome, man. We need to get a DJ classroom, man. Like, come on, man, let's go. So I definitely want to build with you. And correct me if I'm wrong. Are you affiliated or formerly affiliated with Zulu 61 out there?
Yeah, I was in Zulu 61 from 2012 under King XL.
Okay. Okay. And you know Brother Obi?
Yeah, I know Obi. I don't actually know him from here. Funnily enough, I met him for the first time when I went to New York in 2014. So.
Right. Obi, for those who don't know, is a brother that came from Zulu 61 Australia and got very close with the Chosen Zulu family. He was adopted honorary, Chosen member, and he went everywhere hard for Zulu. I mean, and he connected with like Rock Hims and KRSs and Dougie Freshes and everybody, blessing them with beads that he got from Chosen and the Chosen family and whatnot. So shout out to him too, and much love and respect to, like I said, what you guys are doing, and thank you for taking the time to join. Definitely, let's connect. Definitely, let's connect on the side, because, like I said, I like to share a little bit about what you do with other people. Because again, we got people like Philippines and a few other states and countries on the line as well, but they're budding, and what they're doing is just beginning, so to speak. And some of the things that we already have established can be very influential and inspirational to them. So shout out, love, appreciation, and definitely let's connect. Let's talk.
Yeah, that's dope, because I have a program pretty. Yeah, I got a program pretty much. I need to link up with him too, because I have a program pretty much doing the same thing. Been doing it for a long time when I was in Zulu. We was in Zulu Nation, and saying that we gearing up to do it again, where we teach the elements of hip hop to like inner city youth. We were specializing in that too. So that's really dope. When people are doing the same thing, when people are on the same page, you know what I'm saying? It's just a beautiful thing. So yeah, Chosen, go ahead and make him a prime, like a you know what I mean, like a feature up here one night, because I'm gonna try to live. I would like to live with that. Oh, and that song is actually the Juice Crew. It's not just Biz Markie, it's the Juice Crew. It's Erase Racism. It's the whole Juice Crew. Big Daddy Kane in the song, Coogee rapping the song. So it's the whole Juice Crew.
Dope. And yeah, perfect. Low Tech, thank you. I was gonna say you should put a link in the chat room. So for those that don't know, he just put a link in the chat room there. Definitely connect with Knowledge Tree Hip Hop.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, if you want to, if you like, I can get, I've got 4 or 5 other guys that work with me in the program. So yeah, if we want to, if you want to hear some more about what we do, I can get them all on in the call as well. And yeah, I can let them speak for themselves.
And why don't they be prepared to?
Real quick, are you guys still all out in Australia?
Yeah, we're all in South Australia.
Okay.
Be prepared to promote with us for Hip Hop Appreciation Week. That's exactly what we can start counseling on.
Okay, perfect.
All right, we love that. We would love that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Peace.
Awesome. So we see it's an international crowd here. And again, for me, this is inspirational, because I like to connect with people doing these things in their own ways around the world, to remind some of us, yeah, it's good to get hands-on with the people that we're working with, but sometimes it's an extra source of inspiration when you can see other people doing it, especially us as leaders and teachers. Sometimes we feel like, oh my goodness, if there was just somebody else out there doing this, it wouldn't be so hard. This is how we make it easier, by connecting with each other, by promoting each other, by sharing, what Coach Mycs is doing out there with the LSDC and all the groups he's worked, by sharing what Knowledge Tree Hip Hop is doing, by sharing what Brother Phatz is doing, by sharing what Sir Malik is doing, and introducing it to more and more audiences. And like, Sir Malik just said, helping each other to share or promote it. So this way we can get this information out there more from us.
And then we can fulfill our mission too, PRiZM, right quick, of getting the right information. Hook up with the other people doing the same thing. Now we at the same table. Now we can get this whole timeline right. So the babies in Australia and Virginia and New York and LA is getting the same story with the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. You know what I mean? As a part of the
parallel.
So,
that's what's up. And you know what? That's going to be a lot of work. But you know what? I am so confident that we can achieve this, because each of us know we have our own grievances. We all have similar grievances, but when it boiled down, we know what to do. And this is the first step. Let's get on the same page. Get on the same page.
But it's a passion though. So it's going to happen. I mean, I feel like I ain't trying to get too deep, but metaphysically, all this stuff is happening anyway. We just playing the physical part that we're supposed to be doing.
Sir.
So you know what I mean? That's why I'm loving what we're doing right now. PRiZM, I love you for this, man. These meetings are historic. These meetings are historic. No question.
I feel it. And like I said, this is just the beginning. As you see, Each meeting, we're growing, we're getting other people. It's not just people that want to know, but people that are teaching others that want to know. And this is our community. This is our culture. This is our people. You know, like I said before, it's not about the superstars. You guys are the superstars. You know, not just you as the teachers, but also you as the students, the guys listening on these calls and getting this information. You know, and real quick, you know, I'll take you guys through some of the slides that we share. But, you know, one of the things that we teach is that you guys are getting this information way before we did. You know, like the pioneers of the culture, they started with just their imagination, just their idea. They didn't have a collage or a network of information that was already readily prepared for them to learn. You know, so real quick, you guys are with us at Chosen Zulu. We broke up an acronym, CHOSEN. These are the several acronyms that we've used over the years, but the main ones are the one on top. Children having opportunities to satisfy every need is the heart of what we've done, is making sure that the youth in our community, and when we say youth, we don't just mean the little kids and toddlers, we mean up to the age of 35, youth and young adults. We're trying to coach you guys and prepare you guys to have a more successful lifestyle, to be more fulfilled, to have that kind of house you want to live in, to have the kind of relationship you want to live in, to have the kind of access to freedom and traveling and experiencing the world and more than just your community that you want to live in. A lot of these places are not doing this the way we're doing it. We're doing it by using music and hip hop knowledge in order to introduce you to knowledge of self. And we'll get into that later. But charity and hope overcome sin, evil, and negativity. It's this love. It's this thing that we're doing from our heart, our passion, that can help you to help other people in your community. You feel me? And again, we'll go through that and we'll share that over time. But this is what we call the fundamentals of hip hop. This is what we've outlined for those that haven't seen it yet, just briefly. The different aspects of hip hop. That means the different ways you can look at hip hop. Is it a music? Is it a culture? Is it a feeling? Is it a process? Is it a religion? What is it? The elements of hip hop, which we touched on briefly. The virtues of hip hop, which is something that I feel is overlooked. The principles of hip hop, which have been mentioned a couple of times on the call. The pioneers of hip hop, and with that, not just the pioneers who started in the beginning, but the pioneers of each style, of each era, of each genre, of each culture. And then the eras of hip hop, where we go through the whole hip hop timeline that our brother Phatz had referred to earlier. Again, referring to the benefit that I mentioned before, the Chosen Zulu advantage is from day one, we are teaching you what took the pioneers of the culture 20, 30, or 40 years to figure out. Right? So one of the sisters on the earlier call said, why did it take them 20, 30 years to make the principles of hip hop in the declaration? That's because they didn't know they needed it until they were in their 20s and 30s and they saw how much of an international influence it had. So the different aspects of hip hop are hip hop music, which are the 5 elements we mentioned, hip hop culture, which include knowledge, language, fashion, and the business. And the business is what gave way to the hip hop industry. And that's what you see on mainstream, on TV, on your radio stations. And then for people like us here is the way of life, where we live this. We're passionate about it. We love teaching it and using it as a method to reach each other and connect with other people. This is the same thing, where we just worded it a different way, but if you read just the letters in red, it says hip hop is a way of life. Again, we designed them sort of as memes for Facebook and Instagram because we realized that's where we got to reach the kids out. Back in the day, we used to pass out flyers in the streets in the community and reach them at the barbershops and the parks. They're not there anymore for many reasons, but COVID being chief among them. So we decided to start reaching them through, Facebook and Instagram. And this is how many of you are here today. These are different images that not only do we have as examples to teach the elements of hip hop, but we also have t-shirts and hoodies and cups and stuff available on chosenzulu.com with a lot of these images on them as well, including that, which is one of the few posters that we have, but we made it as a poster so that way you could see the elements right there, all available again on chosenzulu.com. This represents you, all of us. If hip hop was the color yellow, this is the hip hop around the world. It covers every part of the map. Everywhere your little island is there, their little, continent is down there. Some of the other brothers that were on here in Africa, we're all covered in part of this culture. And again, referring back to the Peace and Time of War book, we are all citizens of this yellow culture metaphor that we're using here. Hip hop is a culture of peace. Again, simplest example, when you're having a party and everybody's dancing and the b-boy's spinning and he's doing some great thing and somebody says, oh my God, he got a gun. The music stops. DJ stops the record. Make sure it's safe before it can continue. Hip hop and violence cannot coexist in the same place. So you, as a hip hop citizen, as a representative of hip hop, the culture, always remember, it's our mission to keep peace so that way we can keep having love and unity and having fun. All right. The virtues, again, they were also referred to also. Again, I referred to the Hip Hop Appreciation Week before when they mentioned peace, because this year, as we've been informed, the theme for all of Hip Hop Appreciation Week is peace. All right. And when we looked at it originally years back, we were teaching peace as the 10th element of hip hop. But, you know, everybody wants to claim a 10th element of hip hop. So we decided to realize we're going to say it's a virtue of hip hop. And then, of course, we added unity, love, and having fun. But then we realized all the other things that we had to learn. In order to hip hop, you had to take it seriously, like work, whether that was a B-boy or a DJ or MC. You had to have integrity, which means you couldn't sound like anybody else. You couldn't look like anybody else. You had to do your own combinations of moves. You have to practice to master your moves. So you make sure you don't break your neck when you try that new move, or look silly or embarrass yourself when you try that new move for the first time. You have that discipline to say, after I finish working, I'm going to go home and practice that move. So all of these are the virtues that hip hop teaches, just like the martial art. In many ways, it's very similar to the martial arts culture. We just do it through the different elements. But these are the virtues that we should always represent as citizens of this hip hop culture. And a little secret, the more of these virtues that you can practice, the more successful you will be in life, having nothing to do with hip hop. But these are the aspects that we learn from hip hop, and you can take it into your career. You can take it into your relationships, into your friendships, and every aspect of your life. The more of these virtues that you can practice and master, and these are things that we have discussed on how do you practice passion? How do you practice discipline? Even the culture itself, sampling is not just referring to music. Sampling means that we learn a little bit, like the sister said before, we watch video from cultures around the world, and we learn a little bit from all of it. We all do this in different ways. When you hear something from your friend for the first time and it sticks out in your head, you remember that. And then 2 weeks later, you'll say it to another friend. That's a form of sampling. All of these things are virtues that we learn in our culture. And then it goes to professionalism. When you have to market yourself as a B-boy or as an MC or as a DJ, you have to market yourself in your own unique way. That's professionalism. That's marketing. When you make flyers from way back in the day to now, you have to put your art and your graphics into it. That can become a skill that you use in business. So these are the things that we like to highlight during our sessions and conversations, and give more specifics on how you can practice courtesy, wisdom, imagination, justice, how you can apply it to your life. Reason being, a message from Sister Asada Shakur, hip hop can be a very powerful weapon to help expand young people's political and social consciousness. But just as with any weapon, if you don't know how to use it, and if you don't know where to point it or what you're using it for, you can end up shooting yourself in the foot or killing your brothers and sisters. All right, so that's like, you know, and again, I don't know how the situation is, and I'll kind of ask you guys on this one. Mumble rap is a thing where, you know, again, every generation, we had gangster rap back in the day. We had Bone Thugs and Harmony. You know, a lot of people were prejudiced towards that type of thing. But when I see the difference here now is that back in the day when we had gangster rap, we also had conscious rap. You know, when we had NWA, we also had Public Enemy. So when we say, oh, but we always had Little Kim and Foxy Brown and Trina back in the day too, but yeah, but we also had Little Kim, Lauryn Hill, Queen Latifah, MC Light, Bahamadia, Nachalamp, you know what I mean? So there was a balance on our music, on our airwaves back in the day. Now it's mostly just mumble rap that just passes on. That is what hip hop is, and our kids are getting swayed by that because they don't know anything else. So I feel it's on us as teachers to take more advantage of Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and introduce them to other aspects, even if it's blending new school lyrics with old school beats or whatever we have to do. But I'd like to ask real quick to the brothers and sisters out in the Philippines, how is the music out there? What do you hear? Do you use radio stations? Do you use mostly the internet for it? And what is the kind of hip hop that you get out there? Is it mumble or is it versatile? Or what are you guys listening to?
Excuse me, if I could just ask the question. The Philippines is a really, really large country made up of lots of islands.
Right.
I'd like to know in particular what area. Are they in Manila? Are they near General Santos City?
I believe Coach Mycs said she was calling from the Manila area. Coach Mycs?
Yes, Manila. Yeah, Manila. Yes.
And what is the hip hop music that you get like out there?
Mumble, OMG,
yeah.
yes. Mumble
yeah,
rap,
it's the same.
Yeah.
I was hoping maybe it was different. Maybe, it didn't get out there yet.
But there is a rise of Filipino rappers here acknowledging nationalism. So I think there's also that balance because we have a lot of underground rappers now that are going out and just advocating bad politics and government because of what's happening in our country. So I think there is desperation to become unified in some
Mm,
way, especially in arts. So when the effect of the Western influence like mumble rap is beginning, there's also an influence of underground Filipino rappers that are rising now to give us
okay.
a good education of what the whole spectrum of the government is about. So yeah,
Mm,
pretty balanced, I guess. It's just that I think the youth is not. I think they need to get more aware of what's happening. So
right,
there.
right.
Hey,
No, I appreciate that.
let me respond to that. Priz.
Good, good.
um, these are such critical points of interest because when we talk about mumble rap, and as we can see, I'm sure if we went around the room, we would hear in other areas where it's the same experience because this is what the commercial industry is
Right,
doing. This
right.
is part of our resources being extracted and then exploited all over the world so that we sound and we look and thus convincing people that we are not worthy and we are not of value, that we are not connected, that we don't have any respect for each other. Things
Right.
like this Hip Hop Declaration of Peace, joining movements like Hip Hop Appreciation Week, being involved in these meetings, it enables us to develop like a cultural competency of one another, learning what other cultures are like. And this is something that has been attempted to be completely outright destroyed and exterminated, right? Culture's ability to interact with one another peacefully with respect and competency of one another's cultures, right? So that we have a mutual international respect. So very key point, and that's good to hear that the underground over there is
Right.
as prominent as the
Been active.
underground here. And so be careful when we talk about these things, and we should be clear about pointing them out. That's why Peace in Time of War is such a good work, because it helps us to put things in better context in that geopolitical manner that helps us see how we're connected to what's going on in the Philippines and how what's happening in the Philippines is directly related to what's happening in Minnesota, right? And George Floyd's case in the case against Chauvin, the police officer, and what's been happening in Baltimore over the last several decades, right? Chicago, NY. I mean, we can keep going all around the world where these same experiences are happening, and we need to have a better contextual understanding of what it is that's happening. And that's where the information comes from. That's where they can be informed. But then our work, this work that I've given you, is not just a descriptive work, it's a prescriptive work. So it gives you a prescription of how you can start better contextualizing your circumstance, link up with these resources so they can, employ your resources there in the Philippines. Join us. This is great talk. I'm so glad you made it today. So glad.
Definitely. And I agree with all of that. And real quick, I wanted to ask the brother, Low Tech, how is the hip hop out there? What are you guys hearing out in Australia? What's prominent in today's hip hop?
It's a lot of the trap and mumble rap, unfortunately. I don't know. There's actually, like, on a more underground kind of level, there's some pretty cool stuff that's coming out. Like here in Adelaide, like the city where I'm from. That's still very very boom bappy kind of sound, or proper sample based kind of beats that what sounds like hip hop to me, and most likely the rest of the people on the call.
Right.
But yeah, unfortunately, like I in my everyday job, I work with a whole lot of younger workers, and out of the 60 odd that I work with, you probably hear about 40 of them pretty much consistently playing trap or some kind of new school mumble rap on their phones and whatever. So yeah, it's
Right.
pretty much the same as anywhere else by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And brother Ray Domingo, you still with us? What part of the Philippines are you at? And how's your music out there?
Hey, brother. I'm from Mindanao, island of Mindanao, specifically in the province of Sultan Kudarat. Yeah,
Okay.
when it comes to the usual rap music I heard is unfortunately it's mambo rap,
Yeah.
because for a reason I think that the preference of the young generation here is they want that kind of music, and for the music industry they take advantage on it. So that's why. But
But now when
there's
you
a
guys
lot.
dance, what do you dance to? What kind of music do you guys dance to?
I dance to boom bap music
Okay.
and
And your
another music
students? And what
composed
about your
by
students?
underground artist. What?
And what about your students? What do your students like to dance to?
They like funk music.
Okay. Okay.
They were on
That's
the
what's up.
funk side.
So is that common in the dance community out there that they more like the more funk and the old school
Um,
classic kind of music than?
on my crew, we are always dancing the funk music, but
Okay.
most of the crews here are dancing on what is new. What is in the
Yeah.
mainstream music.
Okay. 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 I appreciate that. That's definitely something we can build on. And just a reminder to you and also to Coach Mycs, I would want to do something on Hip Hop Appreciation Week where maybe we can coordinate something with your groups. Not together, but maybe for the same day where you guys can do Hip Hop Appreciation Week routine, or dance or something that represents Philippines, to the rest of the world, specifically, your independent areas. So we had spoken to Ray Domingo about doing something with his crew the other day. Coach Mycs, I put the offer out to you. Maybe you and some of your students would like to put together a routine or a video, or some of the people are going to be streaming from live events, or they're going to be doing a live event and recording some of it and then sharing it for the first time on Hip Hop Appreciation Week. And I'll bring it back to you also with that. With your students, what do your students prefer to dance to when you're working with them?
Oh, that's a hard question. It's I think it's a balance between the what the world is no, it's a balance of what the radio stations are offering, and
Mm,
also what the education and the academic community is offering, since I think
mm,
in this country there is a rise of recognition of the power of hip hop,
mm.
specifically in dance, what the power of hip hop can do in the youth of today. So I guess in the school that I'm working with, there's already a component of hip hop education. And because
Okay,
of that, I can already have opportunities like what Reyes is doing. I can have
right.
an opportunity to have music and rap analysis, and specifically on the eras of rap. That's why I asked you last time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, we have that opportunity, and I'm really glad that we have that, because I will grab onto that, because I really feel that the youth of today, they don't have that same desperation state that we had
Mm,
years ago, when everything is like falling off and we don't have anything to cling on but hope. Now they're all over the place because the options are so endless, they don't know what to choose
right,
anymore.
right.
So I
Yeah,
think there's a balance of guiding them, and there's also a balance of them choosing what they want to do. And because of the education system that we have right now, specifically in Manila, there will always be a rise of education and awareness. And I'm really glad that the some of my students are here now, so that they would know that the hip hop movement is so huge, and it's not just pertaining to what we are exposed to right now in the Philippines. And these opportunities, well, I think that would be another option for them to join in also.
absolute, definitely. And I appreciate that. And one suggestion Brother Reyes has shared with me what he does with his classes, he lets the kids pick a song and then he picks a song also. So this way they have that kind of balance where, maybe there's something they could do and then something that you could, do. So these are the type of things that we as elders, again, we have to catch ourselves. We don't want to hate on mumble rap. I'm not saying that all mumble rap is terrible. However, it's one of those things where we came up from an era. An important part was where I showed you on the virtues, integrity and originality was important in our era. It was important not to sound like anybody else. You know, so for us, it's just a little bit different. And real quick, we'll get to it on the timeline where we see the commercial era when it happened. But is there anybody else that wanted to make a comment real quick or a question? No. All right, so this is a summary that we did for each of the principles of hip hop peace. You guys are one of the first groups that we're actually showing this to. This is a summary of what each principle represents. Since we don't always have enough time to go over all of them, we put it together in a sort of one page so that way you guys can see these are all the topics that the hip hop Declaration of Peace is meant to outline for us as hip hop citizens, for us as representatives of this culture, and also to protect us as citizens and representatives of this culture. So you can get more specifics on that at chosenzulu.com/principles. You'll see all of the principles there. It's there in English and Spanish as well. And you know, we talked about peace in time of war. And then when we get to the eras, that's why I felt the book from Brother Phatz was relevant. Again, Off Stage, The Culture of Hip Hop Before the Elements, available at soultrustrecords.com. It's an outline of what happened in the eras before, or the time before the eras of hip hop started, and what set the precedent or set the atmosphere for something like hip hop that needed to be the response, that needed to be the outlet of the people, that needed to be something that we were going to do or the city was going to implode without hip hop. I mean, hip hop saved the Bronx, let alone, you know, a lot of our lives. But if hip hop wasn't born in the middle of that desperation where places went without power, without school programs, without, you know, proper heat, there was no regulations on the landlords. And when the landlords didn't want to live up to the code, they just burned down the buildings, whether people were in it or not. Like, that was the state of the Bronx at that time. And that was, you know, sort of what he paints the picture for and explains to you how that happened and why that happened and who was influential in setting the stage for the culture of hip hop to be born. And again, Phatz, you can remind us real quick, give us a summary on, you know, your book so they know what they can get in it.
Really, again, just right quick, just kind of to let people like Mycs and other people up here know that, again, Off Stage is a kind of way hip hop started and a lot of its concepts. So we doing hip hop now. And I want everybody to just kind of get out of the mindset that if you're only doing hip hop if you're rapping, if you're b-boying, if you're DJing, if you know what I mean, if you graph writing. That's not the case at all. Knowledge itself is one of the elements, but there's also, once again, just a communal responsibility. It's one thing to be able to teach people how to dance, but it's another thing to own the building that you're teaching the people how to dance. That way you can do what you want to do. Or maybe buying land, and then maybe the hip hop Declaration of Peace can take on another level. It becomes even heavier now. You can do other things. We need to start thinking more independently. My book speaks on self-sufficiency. We need to be thinking more along those lines, just as a blueprint, as opposed to wanting people to understand our culture so much. Just have our own stuff so that we can present it to the world our own way, the way it should be done. So, you know what I mean? In teaching the elements, that's awesome. But let's start working on institutions where we can leave for generations, for our children and generations. Malik speaks about that a lot. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we're thinking. And so that's pretty much the summary, y'all. You know what I mean? I love the elements, no doubt. But let's take care of the babies, because if we take care of the babies, they will they'll watch every documentary we want them to watch. They will learn every element. They'll do it all if we take care of their needs in the community first. So that's the summary. Thanks again, PRiZM. I appreciate you, bro.
Truth. It's all absolute truth, and that's why I mentioned it. You know, and again, this is what gave way to the pioneers. That, again, reminder, they were only 15, 16, 17 years old when they started trying out the elements of the turntables that they were trying out the dance moves of the b-boys that they were trying out. You know what I mean? Trying these new styles of writing on the wall that they were trying out. They were 15, 16, 17 years old, most of them. You know what I mean? And many of them are still working or performing or teaching in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. You know what I mean? So this is representative of the duration of not only the culture, but the practitioners and the participants of this culture. So we did this as an outline originally. We got the inspiration from the Source magazine. I think it was early 2000s, where they tried to crown the greatest rapper of all time. And they came up with Biggie, which most of us didn't agree with, but it's sort of like when Sugar Hill became the first rap group that wasn't really a rap group. You know what I mean? But, you know, but the outline for the errors that they had, you know what I mean, I appreciate it because it broke it down into smaller segments that we were taught. You know, and there's going to be debate. This is not the one way to teach it. This is just the way we teach it, to break it down in smaller segments so we can really understand the differences. But there's those that say the golden age was between 70 and 85. You know what I mean? So to each his own. But this is the way we felt it was important to break it down. Because just from a rap aspect, you can see in the first era, there was Grandmaster Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash, Grandmaster Caz. Those were the caliber of MCs, right? But then in 80 and 84, there was LL, Run DMC. That was a different kind of MC. You know, 85 to 89, you have Rakim, KRS, Cool G Rap. They were a different kind of MC. And again, we started by telling people, you know, the difference between the eras by using rappers. But you can look at the B-boy history. You can look at the DJ history. You can look at the graffiti history. You can look at who the major record labels were. You can look at who the major countries of influence were. And you can use the same timeline to look at your country, where you come from, and see where did hip hop first come in and what happened in each 5-year segment. It's going to help you break down your history as well and line it up, like the sister said, parallel with others, so you can see what was happening here and there. So again, we're one of the first to put it together this way, and you can see 2005, 2009 is what we call the commercial era. See, so before that, lyrical era 2000, we had Big Puns, we had Eminem, even Big L, you know what I mean, he was just still getting his stuff coming out. So it was very lyrical, Cannabis, you know what I mean, in that era. But in the commercial era is when it became common to sound like what we're selling, to sound like what was on the radio. Then the technical era is when everybody started getting their Fruity Loops and their Pro Tools at home and started making their own music. And that's where sort of led the way and paved the way for a more elementary form of rap music to come out, because now they were doing it from home and getting 100,000 likes and becoming signed, and that paved the way for the mumble era. Here we are in 2021. It's up to us to define what the next eras are, what it's called for us. Maybe it can be the underground era. Maybe it can be the community era. You know, maybe it can be the hip hop education era. I don't know, but it's up to us to define it. It's up to us to inspire the generation that defines it. It's up to you guys on these calls, especially your youth. If you're under 35, you're still youth. It's up to you guys to understand and figure out what you want this era to be and what you want it to be defined by. And let us know. If you're too shy to speak here on the call, that's cool. Tell Coach Mycs what you want to know about, what questions you have. Tell Ray what you want to hear about. You know, brothers in Australia, same thing. Think about what your students, what your people out there want to know, want to connect to, and connect with us. We're going to have more authors, more teachers, more pioneers. We're connecting with some of the guys that were actually part of the era that Phatz wrote about in his book, Cool DJ D and Tyrone the Mixologist. But again, we bring it all to a summary by reminding you, we look at how those brothers and sisters that became famous icons in each era, how did they do that? They connected, and again, you're one of the first groups seeing this outside of my Chosen Networks group, which is the Knowledge of Self for Youth and Young Adults program, is the Chosen Path. We help you identify your passions, your abilities, your talents, your hobbies, and your skills. Sometimes society teaches that we have to choose one career and go do that as a 9-to-5 for the rest of our life and go to school for 8 amount of years or whatever in order to do that. But sometimes we realize that we have a passion for gardening and we have a passion for music, or we have a passion for dancing and we have a passion for cooking. You know what I mean? So we try to teach you to identify all of those things that you have an interest or a talent or a hobby or a skill for. You know, abilities are the basic things you can do, like walk, like carry bags, groceries, type in a computer, answer a phone. But skills are things that you can develop and become better at. Talents are those things like you're like, oh, he got a natural talent for that. When he sings, you can tell he's born for that. Or when he plays basketball, you can tell he got a natural talent for it. Other people are not so naturally talented at basketball, so they have to develop it as a skill. And we teach you guys how to identify the differences. So not just so you can be better at hip hop, like the brother said, so you can be better at every aspect of your life. And we end it with what we call the personal cipher. These are what we teach the brother mentioned before: mental, spiritual, and physical are 3 aspects of how we teach you to improve yourself and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, so we can help you get to that perfect 10. But we also include emotional intelligence, learning how to stay on the positive side of the scale between peace and love, where you feel joy and contentment and inspiration and enthusiasm and all that, as opposed to the negative side of the scale from boredom, like peace, where you're just chilling in a room quietly and you're like, oh, this is cool. And then all of a sudden you get bored, you took one step into the negative side of the scale. And everything from boredom to fear, hate, despair, jealousy, depression, frustration, impatience, all of that is what we call the lower self, or what we refer to as the ego. So we teach you how to manage that, so that way you can stay on the positive side, stay connected to the things that bring you joy, like dancing or music or gardening or math or whatever your thing is, you know, and how you can use that to develop what we call normally a professional or financial aspect of self, how you can turn that into ways that can become a source of income later in life, or that you can start building now to develop, get the certifications or qualifications or credibility in order to do that professionally. These are the things that we want to introduce you to, so you realize it's not just about hip hop. This is about how we live our lives as people who come from this culture, who come from the backgrounds that we come from, who are born into a society that places these kind of limitations on our people and tells us we can never move out of these cities, we can never have the nice things, because they convince us to think that way, and they put us in places where that's common knowledge. We grow up generation to generation living that way. But it's up to people like ourselves to connect with other people like ourselves and show the example of how we can become more than that, how we can become successful, how we can become independent by building our own network, what we used to call it, chosen the industry in the streets. They have their industry, but this is our industry in the streets, connecting to the people, the roots, the youth, the teachers, the activists, the educators. And I open the door for you brothers to educate and share on what you're doing, you know, in your areas, and teach us as we get ready to wrap this up. But again, that's a preview of what we talk about in more detail. We have the program $9.99 a month, where it's open to everybody. You can join for 4 weekly classes for $9.99 a month, and we start teaching you more details about the elements, the practitioners, the styles, different genres of rap, different styles of b-boy, different styles of b-boy, who influenced it, who are the major promoters and party organizers and record labels and producers behind the scenes that help make a lot of this happen, and the community work and the activism and the fundraising and how you can do it in your areas. But again, we do these open meetings, give you as much as we can for free, and invite you to come join our family on our weekly meetings as well. With that, you know, before we close, I'm Sir Malik, Brother Phatz, Tito, anything you guys want to say? Low Tech, feel free.
Yeah, let me.
Reggaeton hour?
Sorry?
Yeah, let me go ahead then, real quick. Like, I just want to thank everybody tonight for everything you're doing. Check your chat. I sent out a few. Let's connect, you guys. Let's take this, you know, another 2 and 3 steps forward, because we can. We have what we need right here, and I'm certain if we just continue to work together and develop it, it'll render and yield, you know, more along the lines of what we see things becoming. So congratulations, PRiZM. You know, I get at you. Everybody, oh, Phatz, get at me, man. I hit you. Please get at me. We got some work to do, fam. So let's do this again, you guys. Let's do this again.
All right. Tito, did you want to say something? Or anything you wanted to highlight, or projects, or anything you wanted to let people know about? No?
No, I'm going to pass this time. I just want to thank everybody for coming through. I hope we continue to build on this. I thank you for making the effort to say all the things you said, and, you know, I'm ready to push these forward. And all I would say is that, you know, I'm definitely looking for people ready to rock in the U.S. with the Rainbow Coalition, original, real, united on all fronts. So anybody here that is interested in participating in the Rainbow Coalition in the United States or abroad, please be in touch with PRiZM.
Definitely. Appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time, brother. And Coach Mycs, thank you for everything you do. Love it. Inspired always. Definitely, you and I have to speak as well. We want to coordinate some things. Also, Ray Domingo, we wanted to see about coordinating something for something else for the Philippines, sort of like what we did before. Let's talk about this. Let's get together. This year is a good year. Like I said, this week was sort of just a moment to reflect on the things that we've discussed so far, take time with the authors that we've connected with so far so they can share their insights. Like I said, one of the lessons that we teach at Chosen is go to the source. Whenever you want to know about it, find out who's doing it the best, or who's well known for it, or who's been doing it for a long time, and talk to them about it. So when I see these books, I'm like, okay, who wrote this book? Let's talk to them. We're going to try to keep that tradition going forward. Keep the tradition of speaking with people doing programs in their communities, like Coach Mycs, like Ray Domingo, like the brother Emil YX that we had on the call. Sad we didn't get to speak with him this time, but we will definitely speak with him for more. Some of you may know about him. He's sort of like, internet famous, Emil YX. Very passionate about his hip hop work in the community in South Africa. Even when he's not there, he's still working on things out there, and he's got a couple of books, and he's working on a new one now, plus a lot of hip hop projects that he does in the schools with kids. So if you Google Emil YX, EMILE YX, you'll see videos of him and his kids in the schools and the programs out in Africa. It's very inspirational. I love it. So we're going to connect with him too. A few other authors, a few other pioneers. Again, we're doing these open meetings because we want to make you guys aware of where you come from, where this culture comes from, but also what you're capable of. All right, it's not just something that has to be part-time or a fad or a fashion. It's something that you can build into different aspects of your career and your future. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Chosen Zulu Facebook. Check out chosenzulu.com. We have plenty of videos along with the document, the Declaration of Peace, videos from the pioneers themselves, and we will be adding more as time goes on. We also have a new page for our affiliates, where we're going to start adding links to the affiliates and programs that we work with, their websites, their books, their products. So stay up to date on that. Definitely stay connected with Chosen Zulu Facebook. That's where we're sharing different articles and videos from different periods of hip hop history. So we can remind people of the better times and the things that we can sample from and be inspired by. Thank you guys for taking the time. Like my cousin Asa always says, you could have been anywhere tonight, but you took the time to be here with us. We love this. We appreciate all of your work, all of your passion, all of your effort. But I want to challenge you guys next time to talk to your leaders, your teachers, and ask them the things that you want to know about, that you want to hear about, so they can contact us and let us know what kind of presentations you would be interested in hearing. We want to make this relevant and enjoyable for you, not just informational, but the way KRS says it, edutainment. So that way you enjoy it and learn at the same time. I'm sure most of you do, but we want to make it relevant to what you're doing and what you're dealing with. So let us know what that is. Thank you. Love, blessings to all of you. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate all you. Thank you for reminding me that we're not alone. We look forward to seeing you soon. Coach Mycs, one love. Let's talk soon.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.